Here we go.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of running around with the Draculich group quite a bit. Hank would have been my age, and so within I would say kind of a year or two, plus or minus, was sort of the gang that we hung out with.
Okay, I've started the podcast. Welcome to the Cougarland podcast. It is the Gibson family. Okay, we've got Bonnie, Amy, and David, and yeah, they have different names now, except for David. Hey, you were just saying that you hung out with Hank Draculich. So you were a little younger. I had a class with Bonnie. We had Mr. Hakim's. I think it was AV, audiovisual or art, something that I was just taking to pass the time. And then
you graduated in '86.
I never did graduate, but I was supposed to. Yeah, I just went straight to college. I said, I don't have time for this. No, I never did. I was more of the, the rebellious one. And ironically, I've started the podcast with you guys. You would expect some honor roll student to start the podcast. Remember, we all get straight A's. No, I'm kidding. But, that's not how it works. It was
fun, though.
I did have fun. I don't know if you and your sister went to any of the parties. I mean, I don't want to put anything out there where your kids are like, oh, no, Mom was crazy. Drinking on a moped in Italy. Who was the most mischievous of the bunch here?
Probably me.
Bonnie, the most.
Maybe. But yeah. I was the oldest. I'm the oldest, so I had to pave the way, maybe.
That's right.
So you guys originally, where were you born? Where are you from?
Yeah, so our dad was Air Force, so it's always funny in a military family. You say, hey, where are you from? And you either pick the place that you like the best or you pick like one side or the other. And so I guess we always said we were from Pittsburgh or Sacramento because that was my dad's side was in Pennsylvania. My mom's side was in California. But I was born on one of his many places that he was doing training. And I was born in Clovis, New Mexico.
Okay. So do you guys all have different birthplaces, I'm presuming? Yeah. So how about you, Amy? Where were you born?
Sacramento.
Okay.
California.
And Bonnie, were you still there?
Alabama, Selma, Alabama. So.
Wow, that's a trip. My brother and I were both. We both were born in New Hampshire, and my brother kind of lives close there in Boston. But then we moved to Italy, and Germany.
Oh, you went to Germany first?
Yeah, in Spangdahlem Air Force Base.
Oh,
and then my dad get a call, and they're like, after a couple of years in Germany. Like they're like, we need a coach in Italy. He's like, is the weather warm? They're like, yeah. He's like, I'm coming because the German weather. Enough of that, and that's how we ended up there. But like you guys, like anyone else, your life changes. You're on this constant movement. It's like being in the military. You get stationed here. You get stationed here, and then you try to figure out where am I really from. And I always had that difficulty myself, going, where is home? And for a while, I wanted to establish it. Then I realized, no, I want to keep moving. And you two sisters are in Europe. Now, David, have you been staying in the same place pretty much since Vicenza?
No. So I went to school in Pennsylvania. So again, kind of picked what was close to what I knew with home. And then I moved to Washington State, and I was there for about 4 years or so, met my wife and had some kids, that kind of thing. And then I kind of to your point about what's home, then I spent 13 years in Montana. In kind of the upper northwest corner there, and now I'm back in Washington. So I kind of think of Pacific Northwest. That's home. That's home for sure.
That's interesting. How about now? I'm going to go in rotation here. Well, since Bonnie's just above you, so Bonnie, how about you? How's your feeling about where is home? You're in Germany.
I'm in Germany, which moving around, our whole lives growing up, I thought I'm going to stay in one place. I don't like moving. I don't think I did it very well. And so I was ready to stay in one place and met my husband, got married. And then we went to Italy to visit my parents who moved there a second time. And my husband, Chip, met Arnie Goldstein, who said, Dodds is what you should be doing. And then he started applying. And so we've been in Germany since 2001, a few different places, but now we're in the dreaded K-Town.
Oh, Kaiserslautern.
Bad K-Town people.
K-Town, the beer drinkers. Well, the K-Town, it's interesting. I've heard, we'd hear about it down in Italy, But your husband is a teacher for Dodds, right?
So he's a principal now. So he's
Principal? Okay.
principal at Launchville Elementary. So.
Okay. And how about you, Bonnie? I heard you just moved to Europe. Excuse me,
Amy.
Amy.
Yep. We moved here from California in October. So we've been kind of shut down since we got here. But yeah, we had moved a good amount of times in the States. And so Texas a little bit and Pennsylvania a little bit. So yeah, I know the question of where's home. Yeah, I guess it's the most recent place.
Yeah. Where were you in California?
We were in San Diego.
Okay, I was just there. I visited Kevin Merritt, but I also went there in the Navy for, because I was up in the Bay Area. So
You were Bay. Okay.
Yep.
I was going to ask you, and where are you right now?
I'm in Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina.
Nice.
I just said I can live at the beach for a fraction of the cost of a studio apartment in California.
No kidding.
That's my conclusion. That's it. I mean, the
No.
gas is half price and the houses are a third. So I'm here.
That's
Don't tell
awesome.
anybody. I don't want anyone moving here.
Yeah. We
Right.
love North Carolina.
It's I never thought I would. I thought I stayed away from here to reinvent myself because I'm like, all I know is growing up on this base, like this micro world.
Mhm.
And so I go, if I go to Fort Bragg, it's going to be like living on post. I don't know why I thought this, like if I lived here, but it's not. And now I embrace it, but it's different how, you change this whole perspective. But
Yeah.
so what did you guys think? Who spent the longest time in Italy? Was it David or was it Amy?
Amy and David both. 'Cause
Yeah.
you were there for 3 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
3. And then when our parents moved back, then we would go back and kind of just visit them. And so, yeah, I think of kind of that second tour was a chance to go back and kind of hit all the highlights. But we never, I guess we didn't live there per se the second go around.
Oh, it's interesting. So you guys were probably around when I was throwing bridge parties. I don't know if you remember any of those.
You were never invited.
Of course you would have been. I don't know if you attended anything or the Villaggio debauchery, but it was all good. It all good fun. I mean, nobody ended up anywhere really bad. It wouldn't have made Twitter or anything like that. There was nothing that radical. But there was the freedom of getting to be a little grown up. Who took advantage of that? Like going
Yeah,
out on the town?
totally.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, everybody, I confess.
I think it's crazy that
No.
our parents let us do things like take trains to Venice and I mean, of course, no cell phones. It was like, just be home by this time. And I guess we were, and hope you have a Jatoni to call your parents if you missed the last bus or the last train or something. I don't know. It was a lot of freedom.
It was more, and I would suspect since you live there now, do you see the kids not taking advantage of that as much with all the way the world is and people fearing the worst all the time? I mean, is that the way it is? They're more like, I'm on post or they're on X.
Oh, there are definitely some people who they live on post and they don't go off, they don't let their kids go off. They still want that very insular, surrounded by Americans. And it's a shame because they're kind of missing out on a lot of the fun that could,
Right.
opportunities and.
Yeah, discos. I mean, come on, there's discos.
Discoteca.
Discoteca. I mean,
Discoteca. Boom, boom.
Palladium.
Boom, boom.
Palladium, of course. You guys know that. David knows about the Palladium, I think. But you see, I don't know. Amy could have been the most mischievous one here. I don't know. It's very possible because she has the best innocent look. Like she could get away with it. Like you would never believe it if we said she did X, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like having kids now, I think if they were driving, like I would want to know where they are. I think it was a freedom that our parents had because they knew the bus driver was driving, the train driver. Like I think that's what helped allow us so much freedom, that we weren't in our own cars, I think
it was the Italian culture. They were very family oriented. So
Definitely.
parents felt like there was just a
Yeah.
bunch of babysitters built into the country.
Mhm.
Ma cosa fai? This is how it works, right? Did you guys live in Villaggio or did you live off post?
off post.
What area were you guys at?
So our first house was up on Monteberico, on the Via Verica side.
Mm-hmm.
So we lived quite close to Christy and Cherie Johnson. And who else lived up our hill, Amy? Heather Van Gorder
Yes,
was close.
yeah, right up the hill from Heather.
Oh,
I don't
Kathy
know if you
Summers
remember.
was close. She was like down the
That's
hill
right.
and through a field. So
That's
that was kind of like our bus riders, I think.
That's
Jamie
great.
Pellerito was probably up there too, I'm guessing.
Jamie wasn't too far, but yeah.
Yeah, that was the Barrico. So there, what I noticed over the years is there would be certain centralized spots where whoever was renting the houses, whoever the property managers were, you'd either end up in a cluster in Barrico or Torre di Quartasolo, or you'd end up in, you know, Grisignano or near Camisano. So there's all these little groups of areas, and they're like 6 people live here, 8 people,
Yeah.
here, but the majority lived in Villaggio. So did you guys go try to hang and stay over at your friends in Villaggio?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because it was super easy. I mean, you could like literally walk there. So, I mean, at my age, I was middle school and early high school. You could literally walk there. And I know they ran buses and stuff, but we always thought it was cool to kind of walk through the alleys and pop into the
road.
bars and that kind of thing.
The little Stonga, the back road with the bars.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Over the
And
train
go over the
tracks.
train
Over the
tracks.
train
And
tracks.
then you would, at night, when you would go down that road, they would be playing bocce ball.
Right.
You know, till all hours of the night.
Oh my.
Again, parents, they were our parents. They were kind of our dads and grandfathers watching us as we walked past them.
I like that place. I used to party in that cornfield and over by that church. I pushed the limits. You guys were like still only there 2 years. You didn't have, I mean, I swore some of you guys came to some of the things that we did. We'd have pool parties in Villaggio. We would have parties under the bridge. We'd have house parties over
Funny.
in Villaggio.
The
Yeah.
only party I remember, and I think you talked about this with the Goldsteins, was their folks had gone out of town one time and they had a big party. And I remember going there, and I remember going back the next day to clean up before their Betty and Artie got home. That I remember. I remember like a graduation party on the river. Was it supposed to be under a bridge?
It was on the lake. There was one by a river, and there was probably one by the lake. We had one in Lake Marola, the Rod and Gun Club lake. There's a video of it. There's a whole like baby swimming pool filled with beer. It's crazy. And there's a rock band. I'm like, wow, we did it our way, you know? And then we come back to the States and we're not 21 anymore.
I know.
Right. Like, okay, you've taken your demerit card. Now you're a little kid again. Thank you. Not gonna let that stop me. But so did you all graduate from there? I know Bonnie did. Amy
I did and Amy did.
Yeah.
No? Where were you sent back to, David? Where'd you go?
So I still had 3 more high schools to hit before I graduated. So my parents got stationed to England for 6 months. And then I went to Washington State for about 1.5 years. And then I finished up in Texas.
Wow.
Killeen, Texas, Fort Hood.
All your closest friends. And now see, anybody that I talk to that goes there their senior year, they don't know anybody. They don't know the layout. They don't really, you know, these are people that have hung out in the same town forever. And you're like, hey, and they're like, I don't know you.
Right. True story.
Strange alien person from another place. You know?
Well, what it was is you were the new kid. You know, you were the new kid every time you showed up. So you were kind of like the shiny penny, and everybody kind of wanted to maybe not be your friend, but get to know you a little bit. And then when the shine had worn off, you just moved on to a new place. So
yeah. You were on tour. It was like the high school tour. One of the Gibsons is coming to your school. Now, is your husband in the military or has a job like that too, Amy?
So he is in a medical device field. And
Okay.
so, yeah, I would say his company has just kind of moved him around a little bit. And yeah, so we think we'll be here for about 2 years, and we're in Scotland. But maybe 2 weeks with this lockdown, we don't know.
Right? You're like, it's time to bounce. We're going to work
Yeah, right.
remotely from Ireland. We're going to go to Ireland.
We're out.
Right? And that's the thing about this bouncing around. I mean, how are things in Germany, Bonnie, compared to like In North Carolina, they're pretty open. We'll ask each other around here. I'll go around in the.
I can't do a ton of comparison because I haven't been in the States except for about 3 weeks in September. I was back in Washington State for a little bit, but I feel like Germans, as you might guess, they're rule followers. Like they're doing all the things they're doing all the things that they're meant to do. We have very restrictive lockdowns now. I think Amy is probably a little bit more restrictive, but nothing is open except for essentials, grocery stores, doctors. Right now we have like a 15-kilometer radius. You're not meant to go farther than 15 kilometers from your house. One person over if they're not in your household. And it's supposed to go till end of January, but I think England is till March, so I'm sure that we will be too. But
damn, we're on Zoom together though. We're escaping our house. Right? Yeah, I mean, I'm here, and I picked it because I lived in California, and I knew progressively things were going to get worse. You can travel, you can do that stuff, but I was like, you know what? This is the craziest story. My wife is into astrology, and she goes, "I think we're supposed to be in North Carolina." I go, "What?" We're living in California. And she applies for a job and has a job offer in 24 hours in North Carolina. I'm like, okay, that is obviously a sign. So I go, let's go look. And we go look, and we check out the mountains of Asheville, which is beautiful. And we're like, this is great. But then I get 55 mosquito bites the first evening there. I'm like, I don't like this. So we came down to the beach. We're like, yeah, well, it is all remote, right? So he was like, we got to go there. And I kept my place in California. Ironically, it caught on fire while I was gone, which is kind of another sign. Let's get into these signs, right? So I know people might think astrology's wacky or not believe in it, but everything's been consistent is what she said. So I'm like, that's better than the news. I think I'll listen.
yeah.
You know, and so, you know, David's probably got pretty much flexibility where he's at, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's kind of in the middle between, say, like what Bonnie described in the Carolinas. I mean, what I noticed has changed the most is just work. There's no travel. I used to be in a role that I traveled all the time, and there's just been no travel since March. So that's been a big change for, I think, a lot of people. Work from home. I did that for about 6 months. Now I'm doing something different where I can go into work every day, which I'm a fan of. But yeah, as far as kind of the stores are open. Gyms are just about to reopen with required protocol. So that's been a little bit, or that people are looking forward to that. But on a personal level, I haven't really felt restricted. I wouldn't say I'm a homebody, but the ability to go to concerts or big events and so on, like that hasn't been a drawback for me.
Well, what about your habit as a roller disco instructor?
Yes, this has been impacted. I just do private lessons at the house, of course, these days.
I'm glad that you're.
You gotta adapt. You gotta adapt. That's just the way you gotta be.
Well, you know, the Bee Gees, the music that you usually teach to, Staying Alive. I'm glad. You know, it's a good theme for your instruction.
Exactly.
But I don't know. So it sounds like where Bonnie's at, pretty strict. Germans, I understand them. My mom's German. I know what's up. And then here you are, Amy's here for a couple weeks in Scotland visiting a house, inside a house. You know, it could be a house anywhere. That's the crazy thing. Right. And you guys do think about like, well, has that come to mind? Like maybe we should go back, or?
You know, I guess initially our youngest was with us, is with us, and was able to jump into school in person. So that was a huge bonus for us over California schools, because they were all virtual where we lived. And so we were so excited, and he was diving in and having fun. And then literally like everything shut over Christmas. And like Bonnie said, in Germany, you know, it's only stores, and now the kids are virtual. So
virtual kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And what a better time for me to launch this damn podcast, because I know if you
Yeah.
guys had your life going on, oh yeah, schedule me next year. I mean, that's
Yeah.
exactly, the timelines get narrower. Some hard to pin down people finally became available. And I never would have tried this if COVID didn't exist, because
Right.
now I know people are at home. Kinda how-
Yeah, it's such a fun idea.
So who did you hang out with, Bonnie? Who were your homies?
So I would say like Lita, Pelota, Kathy Summers, Daniela,
Austin.
who I've been able to see, I have seen since we've moved back overseas, which is kind of cool. And like Alan Bruzzo, I didn't hang out with him, but we've been to his winery a few times since living back in Germany, and we go to Italy all the time. As much as we can, we like to go to Italy for our trips. But yeah, like Jonathan Goldstein, Sam Adams-ish, you know, that was kind of I think a lot of the academic things that I did sort of, you know, framed my friend group, so to speak. One thing that's funny, we moved over, and as a junior, we came from Virginia, and I ended up on cheering, which I could never make cheerleading in America because it's so competitive and so intense, but no problem in Vicenza. So, you know, like Catsy Armstrong, you know, Catherine Chambers now. And so, yeah, I think kind of the academic things or the extracurricular things that I did shaped, but really, weren't we friends with everybody? I mean,
I think so.
I still all these little groups, but everything's so small, everybody was connected in some way.
Well, it's proximity. Who lived near you?
Yeah.
Who were you hanging out with, right?
Yeah.
Like you guys had these Barico friends, but if you live in Villaggio, you might have them plus them more so. And I used to think that people ended up dating who they dated because that person just lived across the street. And, you know, it's kind of worked out that way now that I look back. Like, gee, Billy had a lot of girlfriends. Yeah, but Billy lived next to all the girls and one sister, right? So he was the best looking guy in the laundromat. Yeah, that's kind of how it works out, right? What are your favorite memories of going out there, like going out on the town and stuff, Amy? What did you do that was fun that you remember?
So, yeah, I think just like you talked about initially, the freedom to jump on a bus and meet friends. And yeah, I feel like it was always a moving group that you started off with, maybe the friend you came with and then you joined. I mean, don't you think we always had like a big group downtown?
At the cab?
I remember the cab. I do remember the cab.
Oh yeah, those liter beers, playing quarters, like here, chug 3 beers in a row. That was
the proprietor, you know, the owner of the cab, to let all of these teenage unruly whatevers in that back room with just long tables, just dishing out pizzas and bringing beers. Oh my God.
Did you guys ever go to the carnival downtown by the train station?
That was awesome.
Yeah. The Tagada. Remember the Tagada?
Yeah.
It was like the I don't know. It was like a
it rotated,
basically, and it started
right?
rotating, and then at some point it would start bouncing and everybody would go flying.
We started
while they played the discoteca music.
We used to get a pony keg of beer because we figured that was great. We'd buy this little beer that was like probably 20 beers in one. We're just like trying to drink straight out of a little keg. And we would go on the Tagada and we'd go get in fights with the GIs. We would just tell them, like, because you'd get in the middle and you'd play like King of the Hill.
Yeah,
because it's jumping up and down and you're like flying up in the air, like landing on a guy or throwing each other. And we all could have died from that thing, but it was fun.
It was like a mosh pit, like in motion, right?
Right. It was. Yeah. You're supposed to hold on to the poles behind you, and it's slamming your legs up and down, smacking your butt, like, you know, your lower back. And you're like, forget this. You just stand
we all have neck issues.
Yeah, you would like dare each other to go to the middle, and then once you got there, it was all mayhem.
Oh, that was the best part. That was like, okay, there was a carnival on Post. Your parents are watching. Then there's a carnival on downtown. Like, how do you really act at a carnival? And then you go back to the States. You're like, this is all vanilla. Where's the beer? Where's the action? Where's the fun, right?
Where are the dangerous rides?
It's funny. So none of you guys married anybody from Vicenza?
No.
Me either. This is awesome. Actually, your friends did.
Yes.
Tracy did. Tracy Galindo, I think.
Who?
Tracy Galindo.
Yeah.
He's married to an Italian. I'm not sure if she's from Vicenza, but
Oh, he married an Italian, but then you have the Walshes.
The
We're talking
Walshes.
then yes, of
Right.
course.
Yes. Christy was my good friend. And yeah, that was neat to watch that all happen. I mean, right there in high school, and now how many years they've been together. That's so cool.
Well, I think that's because they were making movies about people getting married in high school back then. They don't make those movies anymore. Did you guys miss having American TV, or did you have a VCR at home up at your house, like sharing tapes with your friends?
I feel like we didn't watch that much TV.
We didn't watch that much TV.
No?
Down on the Taverna, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was one station for the most part.
Yeah. AFN, AFI. What was it?
You guys got there just as it was coming in, the SEB channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have
That's
that.
what it was.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing that David was a great puppeteer and he could entertain his sister.
Mhm.
Sock puppets and little cardboard
Right.
box. I'm joking.
Yeah, and I was just starting to get into skating, so
Mhm.
I had that.
Yeah. They're like, our brother's amazing. He entertains us. He's younger, but we brought him here for a reason. Well, what was
The
it?
thing that was horrible about moving there is not horrible, but what I remember is I was finishing my sophomore year. We were coming from Virginia. I had a driver's license. I was like on the cusp of, all sorts of, freedom and
Freedom.
independence.
Mhm.
And we moved to Italy. And I remember our sponsors who were military. They weren't, anything that I don't even know who they were, but just coming back, you're exhausted on that overnight flight. You're driving from the probably Venice airport, and all of the things that they just kept saying, nope, you can't do that. Nope, you can't do that. You can't drive. And, I'm like, but I have my driver's license. Nope, you can't drive. And it was really a huge shock
Yeah.
to go and just not have, it was so unfamiliar, but I feel like we adapted pretty quickly.
You bring that up. It's interesting. I did a podcast with Terry Poplinsky, and she says, just as I was about to date that guy,
Yeah.
a hot guy from school that I always wanted, like in the movie,
Yeah.
it was time to go to Italy. Nope, you
Yeah.
can't date Charlie. It was
Mhm.
over. And
Yeah.
that happened, and that was another thing, is that you get used to seeing people rotate. So I think your social skills adapt, right, to doing this faster. You know what I'm saying?
But I feel like the core, let's say, of the teacher kids and the
Mhm.
principal and coaches, did you feel like there was a group within a group? Do you know what I mean? Like, you guys were there a long time, and like Pallaritos and
Richie's.
Goldsteins and Browns, the Richies.
Yeah, Dracula.
It's interesting how that went. If I look at it, my brother probably bonded more with Jamie Pellerito
Yeah.
and Bart and Hank Draculich because he was closer in age to them.
Yeah.
And then Peter and I, we're in our own different paths. I mean, I was Fonzie. He was trying to be Fonzie out where he lived. So it kind of worked out like that. I mean, I was definitely not the typical teacher's kid. I think the regular teacher's kid was very good in school, played sports, conformed to what their parents did. I was the rule breaker. So that is the absolute difference. So of course I'm going to be off on my own mischief, and probably more, I guess, if there was a character type, like who was your dad, maybe some wild, crazy army kid might've been me if I was an army kid. I don't know. But it was there to experiment. When you're there 12 years, it's like Groundhog Day in some ways. So you want to wake up the next day like, today I'm going to rob a bank and on roller skates and drink all the orange soda and no one's going to stop me. And then tomorrow it repeats and you keep, I don't know if you guys saw the movie, but it's a great analogy, right?
Yeah.
I always missed what was going on in the States. And I don't know if you guys felt the same. Like, did you feel like it slowed down after all the get what you want now in the States on demand? 24
Yeah, and I think Europe is even still, Germany is like a couple years behind. Like the things that are popular, the delivery service is fairly non-existent in this part of Germany, whereas in the States now, especially with lockdowns and people being at home, you can get whatever you want: groceries, food, restaurants, all of it. And but I think always Europe has been slightly behind things that are available and on trend in the States.
That's
I don't
probably,
think
how is it for your sister? That's what I wonder, if there's a difference between European areas.
Yeah, I would say people are pretty good about ordering food and groceries and all of that and staying in around
But you're in a
here,
big
it seems
city.
like. Yes, that's right. Yeah, yeah, it seems pretty commonplace here, I would say. Yeah, and it's funny because where did David go?
Oh, he vanished. He'll probably
To get his puppets.
yeah, he went to get his he went to get his puppets. This is awesome.
His roller skates.
But I definitely, like, I feel like I remember a lot of kids at school saying, oh, it's so much better in the States and I miss it. And I don't know, I never really felt like that. And I, again, like Bonnie was saying earlier, I feel like you miss out on a whole lot if you're just kind of mourning what you've lost and, you know,
The scarcity,
concentrating on what you
you know what
don't
it
have.
is? It's the scarcity principle.
Yeah.
You know, since you can't have one thing, the grass is greener in America, then the grass is greener in Italy, and you're
Yeah.
eternally chasing this, and you have to understand it comes from within and how
Yeah.
you enjoy things, right? You know, let's
Yeah.
all meet up with your brother. No, I'm
David, you're like this.
Am I all? I'm in a funny.
kidding. Yeah, we were sideways.
Okay.
You have your
Okay.
screen thing unlocked, so that's probably what it is.
Oh,
But,
no problem.
Good.
Did you guys take any memorable trips? Anything that you really enjoyed while you were in Vicenza, like a school trip or a band or sports
Oh.
trip?
I remember, I mean, for me, what I thought was a highlight was the ski bus that you could just hop on early on a Saturday and they go check out a new spot, you know, a different place every weekend. So I felt like that was an adventure, right? You're an hour and a half away from skiing and just having fun with friends. But that was a highlight for me.
How about the older sister here?
I did a few different things like leadership conferences, and I wasn't in choir, but somehow, because this is what you can do in a small school. Even though you're not in choir, there's a cool choir trip that's going to Naples, and you've got some friends who are going, so somehow you finagle yourself on this choir trip. So
Yeah.
I remember we stayed in the campground down there in Naples that I think is in the
Oh, in Kearney Park, over by the volcanic park there.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
played football there, yeah.
we stayed in cabins, and like I think we were just a bunch of girls in a cabin, no chaperone or anything with us. Probably in the cabin next door was a chaperone, but I don't know. It was crazy, but stuff like that was always fun. And I remember going to Venice a lot. I do remember.
Yes. With Mr. Hakeem.
Yeah, and even just with friends, but Mr. Hakeem.
Only with Mr. Hakeem. Your sister's trying to keep her innocence at maximum. She's like, oh, only with Mr. Hakeem when it was safe. Right. No, I mean, who didn't take off on the train to Venice on their own with their buddies? You know,
Yeah.
you guys all did, right?
Yeah.
You know, and you know, you get to watch your sisters. Did you learn any mischief from them, David? Looking at what they were doing, did they give you any cheat codes to the next level of fun? Or
Yeah, I mean that was kind of true of just growing up. I mean, they were always 3 and 4 years older, so they were always 4 steps ahead of me as far as what they were doing and who they're hanging out with or sneaking out or whatever that looked like. So I don't know that I picked up on one specific quality. I think they had worn, maybe kind of blazed a trail that it was a lot easier as far as my parents.
one
Yeah.
other
Maybe Bonnie the most.
one other question: who's the most mischievous of the two?
Oh,
Yeah, what's David's opinion?
I think Bonnie was always, she was creative and
Definitely.
always liked to kind of explore. So yeah, I'd go Bonnie. That's an easy one.
Why-
I'm a rule follower.
What is it with the older ones? Look at me and my brother. He's
Right.
he's the Amy and the Dempsey brother
Yeah,
relationship.
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, just called my brother a girl. It's cool. No, but it's almost a comparison. I mean, what is your guys, the age difference between you guys are 1 year apart and then David's like 2 or 3 years apart, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm Amy's 15 months younger than me, so just a year and a little bit, and then David's 4 years younger. Well,
Okay.
3.5.
Right.
Yeah.
So did you have to watch them? Were you getting babysitting duties, Bonnie, most of the time? Or you worked together with Amy and you guys both watched David?
Once we were in Italy, I don't know that there was a lot of, I mean, all of us were old enough to kind of do our own thing. I don't know that we ever babysat David in
No?
Italy.
Now, did you guys stay at any of your friends' house and get out of your parents' house? Like go stay up in Torrey, Bellagio?
Oh yeah. I spent a lot of time at the Dracula's house, and then there's another kid, Paul Stanton. He was in Bellagio, and so we'd go hang out there. But I think if we were going to have a sleepover or something, I was always trying to go to their house versus have them come to our house.
Because it was new. Because
New and I don't know, maybe it was new, and I mean, it wasn't because we could do more in a particular place because Paul's dad was super strict, and because he was in the Army, and Paul was always getting in trouble and grounded and that type of thing. But you know, the Dracula's house was on the economy, right? That's what it was if you were living off base, and they had a cool little village that we could go and hang out and go get ice cream or try to stay up super late.
I know the area. You're right next to that pizza place. That's where my buddy Mark lived. Mark.
Yeah.
He lived right out there. That's Grizignano. Yeah. I know exactly where it is. Right to the left of the house, there's a pizza place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And there was the train tracks nearby. There was a beer hall down the street, like 100 beers. So I know. But what about you two girls? I mean, to me, Bonnie, I did think Bonnie was the most adventurous. Amy was being good. She's like, I'll just stay here neutral. But where were you? What adventures did you have, Bonnie? What did you do?
I mean, it's not really an adventure, and it's probably a big. We always kind of joke, Amy and David and I, like, I don't know how much my parents knew. They were definitely of the don't ask, don't tell generation. So they probably still, and my parents, you know, mom and dad are no angels, I don't think, as, you know, high schoolers or young adults either. But I remember in school, we would go over to the Pizza Hut parlor that was over near the BX.
Near the snack bar. It was right there, the side, right to the PX,
wine coolers or beers or whatever at lunchtime and then go back to school.
Yeah, that was awesome. I used to love getting the big cup for the milkshake and just with beer, like, you know, it could hold like 2 beers and just walking by the teen club with a beer.
The teen club.
Way to go. Oh yeah.
Go over and drink a whatever beer. Well, and then David and Amy worked at Burger King.
Oh, you guys got that job? That was a great job. You guys must have been rich working at Burger King.
David?
We had it for a week.
1 week.
And then a lifeguarding job opened up. So we said, I think we'd rather be out in the sunshine than in these suits and chopping vegetable in the back.
In Bellagio.
The money was good. You guys ran the pool after me. These are my descendants of swimming pool people. That was a great place for parties. Did you guys have pool parties there like I did?
No.
Oh my gosh. Look at these kids.
Apparently you didn't pass along the tradition.
Yeah, tradition. To be singing this. I mean, we used to have the best parties there. I don't know. I mean, we had a NCOIC, a non-commissioned officer in charge, and he had a hat that said NCOIC, and he had some Ray-Bans, and I'd put them on, and I'd walk into the food land. And I'm 15, I don't have any facial hair. I'm like, hey, how you doing? You know, and I'd drop my voice an octave. Get some beers for lunch here. How you doing? Oh, molto bene. Whatever your name is, you know, Chiara. Nice to meet you, Chiara. Hey, the sergeant here just watching the pool. She's like, okay, no ID card. She thought I was the sergeant. I was a 15-year-old wearing his hat, Ray-Bans. So then we would close down the pool and we would have our own party, sometimes all day. We'd close one pool down and have it in the other pool and just push everybody to one pool. It was great.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And we were a bunch of kids just kind of borrowed a bunch of bicycles they found laying around, and we were jumping them off the swimming pool into the, off the diving board into the water and stuff, and it was very entertaining. So you missed out. I'm sorry to tell you. There was so much room for, as the Step Brothers would say, so much room for activities. If you guys have seen that movie, but what was your big takeaway from Italy? What do you guys think about it now? I'll ask Amy. What do you think about your experience?
Yeah, I just have really happy memories of high school and friends and great teachers. I really feel like I'm on a constant quest to find like the perfect Italian pizza, and I would eat pasta every night if I could. I don't know, like the food brings it back for me when
You don't look like you're eating all that pasta. Are you sure?
I am, when every chance I get. Yeah, it was just like a really happy time. And I think probably all of our parents, if we were there, were more adventuresome and took an opportunity when they saw it. And so I feel really grateful that we were, along for the ride, because it was a great
I agree with that statement there. Our parents get more adventuresome. I don't think our parents would have been doing what they did in Italy in the States, because it was new. It was everything was experiential. You don't go, you know what? I'm over here in Ohio. Maybe we'll go experience 15 miles down the road and try a hot dog stand no. But in Italy, it's an experience. So they have a different wine. It's in Suave, or it's over here in Verona, or you're going, to Venezia, or you're going somewhere else like this, right? So everything was experiential, and they'd go do it with other Americans, and that kind of enriched that experience. Like if they went out to some farmer's 7-course meal of hand-cooked, perfect Italian food, right? So not hand cooked. I don't know what that is, but handmade. No, whatever. But you get my point. But the thing is, it was experiential, and I don't know, your road back to the States. Bonnie, where did you go? And did you go off to college, or did you work in the movie business for a while?
No, so I did go to university at James Madison, which ironically, so did Kira Reed and John Teska, I think, right, Aim?
Yes, I think you're right.
Okay, so of course I hung out with Kira, and Kira and I were in a ton of classes and different activities together in high school. And then at university, like, I don't think it was a big university, but anyway, it was just interesting that I had 2 high school people at my same school. And again, you just sort of get into your own little insular, whatever, who you're seeing every day, who, to what you were saying about who your friends are, who you dated. But so anyway, I went to university, and then met my husband one summer when my parents were in Washington State. We dated a couple years long distance, and then got married, lived in Washington for a while, and then moved to Europe in 2001.
That's not bad. It's a nice turnout. Yeah. You did date a lot of guys in high school, though. I remember that.
I only dated 2 guys.
I'm kidding. I'm not. This is not the show. This isn't the morning. I'm kidding. So many. No, you couldn't make up your mind. I'm joking. What about you? What about you, Amy, coming back to the States? What was that like?
Yeah, came back, as David had said earlier, we moved to England just for a short time in my senior year of high school. And then I came back for graduation at the Teatro. So that was really special to see everybody again one more time. And that is something about going to an overseas school. It's almost as if you can't go back, because then everybody else moves. And so anyway, but from England and then back to Italy shortly, went to school in Pennsylvania, Grove City College, where our oldest son is now. He's a junior. And so, yeah, met my husband at college, and then got married right almost a year after college. And so, yeah.
Wow. And you guys ended up in California, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's cool.
We were there about 7 years. And
that makes sense. And David, you're bouncing and bouncing. And, I got to ask you this because I know the question, it's kind of general. It's like, looks like we're just doing a board panel of Jeopardy here. But the thing is, for you, like, does Italy still stick in your mind, even though it was a short amount of time in all the movements? Like, how does that compare to other areas? Like, how much equity does it take up in your
Yeah,
mental
so
experience?
I feel like Italy was a so the country and kind of more about the people are so vibrant. And so Amy talked about the food and kind of the, I don't know, sort of there's really kind of that thirst for life. But for me, so I got there when I was kind of 12, 13 age, and then we left when I was around 14. I feel like I was able to do so many more things than, to your point, that you could do stateside, whether that be travel or the things that you saw, or so it's kind of like sensory overload. So that's why I think it was so impactful to me, is because everything there, plus sort of the freedoms that I had that probably came about 4 years earlier than they probably would have. You know, Bonnie talked about having a car, and that's a big sort of milestone for most people to get out and go do your own thing. But I felt like even in middle school, go do your own thing came a lot earlier. And so I think in some ways, like I don't know that it matured me at all, because I still don't feel mature, but I think it exposed me to a lot of things that sort of those life events way sooner. So for me, Italy and just Europe in general was kind of a wow moment. So, and even looking back, I mean, it's, I think they were all for positive reasons. So that was, I don't know. I think even we've had a chance to go back to Italy a couple different times. And some of those same memories are still kind of embedded in who I am.
The people you were there with made the experience. You can go back to the town. My brother Sean's been back. He said, I got in the car and I was to one side and the other in 10 minutes or less.
Yeah.
You didn't have that car when you were a kid. So everything seemed bigger. It's like if you have a virtual world and it seems so much bigger until you look at it from a helicopter view, like, man, that's tiny. You don't really realize that. We get to walk everywhere. And when you're a kid, you want things now. So if you're going to walk 3 miles in Italy from downtown to the front of post, that feels like 10 years in kid years, right? It's those things. It's like Italian life. It's all the things that we can appreciate now that we've gotten older, because it's slower, tastier, smoother, more relaxed. Like, hey, stop that crazy go. This is the sweet life, la dolce vita, right? So it changes. And it's like we were on a vacation with a bunch of strangers who became our friends in our most formative years. We're like, we're in a big, the vacation movie thrown in with Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
Oh, and that was Vern from the Teen Club, I guess. But
Yeah. Well, and to your point, there were characters. I mean, there were some serious characters. Like, look at all the people, the Dodds teachers and stuff, and the families, and in kind of that juxtaposition of Americans and Italians and everything in between. So yeah, I feel like it was a kind of that movie scene, and we were all different characters in it.
That's true. I agree. I think your sisters were the sister. They were sitting in the station wagon.
I'm glad I wasn't the grandmother.
I rewatch that stuff to go back. You know, it's funny. I find that I like movies that take you somewhere. What do I like? James Bond. He travels the world. Not because I care about James Bond. I like the locations he's going to. You know, Anthony Bourdain. You know, people like this that take you somewhere. That's what I've noticed. Like, you know, if you film it in one area, I'm like, aren't they going to go to Villaggio soon in the movie? I'm kidding. But like, you guys have stayed in touch with the Walshes, Bonnie, and have you?
I mean,
Like,
kind of, Facebook, you throw a message every now and then, and horribly so, you know of people because they post the things, and there's a lot of times that you don't even, you might hit a like, you don't even say anything, but you feel like you kind of are keeping up with certain people, which is
let me explain that to you.
That's nice.
It's called the algorithm. Okay, I have close to 4,000 friends, not really close to 4,000 friends. I probably know solidly know people have had a good conversation with over 1,200 people on my friends. Some of them
Wow.
because of like different things I've done, like in the military. I knew my ship. It's like Vicenza. It's 350 people. A couple cycles of transfers through. I got to know them because I lived with them and I was out at sea with them. Just like Vicenza, which was another ship. So I see that. That's why I have such a big number there. But I think I look at this whole scenario here, and you know, when you post something, it only goes to 10% of your people. If you know how social media works, I do, because I've helped people launch their stuff. So you might post, I'm like, nobody likes the picture of my puppy. How mean! They're hating on my dog. You'll make this conclusion, and the truth is that never even hit their feed.
Yeah.
What might be hitting their feed is some propaganda making them angry. It doesn't, doesn't matter what side you're on. If you're right, you're going to get the left. If you're left, you're going to get the right. That's why eventually I'd like to take the Cougarland podcast off of all these platforms and make it private. So it's just like, hey, it's Cougar Town, and you could go visit your friends, and there'll be chat rooms, and people could message. And if you post something, the people you know will actually see it. Because this is like, I have a friend that has 550,000 Instagram followers. He's a professional fighting coach for the UFC.
Wow.
And if he posts something, he might get 15,000 likes, because they only give you 5-10% of that whole line, because otherwise they want you to pay. So if I post something, I'm getting 70, 100 views on the YouTube channel for these views, but I love it because I know it's actual classmates. I don't care that it's a million views. I care that it's like your friends, and this has been re-engaging people. And like you said, it's impersonal. Oh, I know what's going on in so-and-so's life. I saw a picture of them take a perfect picture next to their new car on top of the Alps. Well, guess what? They get in the car, it broke down. The hotel sucked, and you don't know the real story, right? You know, boy, she's never aged. She used a filter. You don't know this bullshit. Excuse me. You know, wow. You know, I'm using a filter right now. I'm joking, but you get my point. You get my point. So this right here will re-engage you with your friends. I guarantee it. You know, and you will have the dialogue, and they'll see you and you'll see them. That's why I did it, because I know the impersonalness of Facebook by itself. It's flat, and it's just like your relationship with a friend becomes a like, hey, happy birthday, or a dislike, where's this, hey, Marge, and then people get hesitant to reach out to each other. Have you guys all felt this at one time? I'm seeing the look in Bonnie's face.
Well, and also, no, I think everybody's just been you know, the Corona situation has also made a big change. People have a little bit more time, you know, I think people are just living their lives. I think they're not trying to be disengaged, but they're just living their lives.
The busy people are walking around the couch. They can pick up the phone. They can come on the podcast. I get a thing, or I get a game to watch, or I got, come on. Tell me after the game. I can't after the game because I have to digest whether my team won or lost, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, you're a good recruiter, Len.
I try. And some people probably don't know that I'll reach out to them, because this isn't just certain people that were there. I mean, I did pick some icons like Garrett Gold that was well known, and Lisa Rolick, people knew her because she was there for many years like me. That's why they get a little bit more, you know. And then other people like, nobody remembers me. Did you guys ever feel that way? You ever feel that way like in the last 20, 30 years? No?
I feel like you're known by who you're known by.
Right.
The people who you're important to, you know you. And
there you go. And what about you? Did you feel like, did any of you guys ever feel out of contact with all of Vicenza in some way for like a brief moment in time?
I mean, kind of when Facebook got going, however many years ago, that was like one of the first things that I know I did, was like, I'll check out all the people I went to high school with, because there are such fond memories, and it's a good feeling overall. And, you know, I look back with only positive, you know, memories. So it's like, hey,
and
I'll see who I can find.
Like even through our parents, and I'm sure through your parents too, like they knew our friends' parents. So that's been neat over the years to, you know, stay in touch with the Goldsteins and really see the Hakeems and yeah, so I think that's kind of neat that your network, especially through your family, is
What do you think it made such an impact to stick? I mean, you guys were there a short period, like 2 years each, 3 years each,
Mhm.
Why did it have such an impact? Like, wow, I remember these people, this matters. like it was an exclamation point in your life. Because you guys, I was there a long time. I can answer mine easily, but it's really.
Well, it's exotic. Oh, I moved to Italy. That's quite, for the Joe Blow, that's a very unique and exotic kind of a thing. Like, I moved to Italy. So already it's kind of putting a circle around something. And then when you have the freedom and you have, everybody, I think, because you're not isolated, because you're in a foreign country, you kind of really create these tight relationships with other kids in school because they were American. Most of us, I wasn't making friends with Italians necessarily. So then you're making those close relationships with the other students at the school because they're American. And yeah, I think all of those things kind of just highlighted the situation.
Yeah, to kind of build on that, I think it was very social, right? So you were at school or different events, but it always seemed like we were hanging out in different places, whether it was a trip or some type of thing through school or even after school. Obviously, we talked about kind of mischief. If people are getting into mischief, that becomes memorable, whether it ended well or not. But yeah, I think it's very concentrated, as Bonnie's describing, and so it sticks. It sticks in that memory bank, and I think the age at which we did it too. I mean, I know for probably even our parents, it was they had some their own impression and memories. But I think when you're in that sort of teen age, everything you're doing is kind of for the first time, and back to that social piece, you're doing it with a lot of different people and friends.
It's your formative years.
Exactly.
That's what it is. And another weird thing that'd be funny is like dating. I didn't date a lot in high school, but I can imagine that you're like going out with a girl or a guy and you're going, they could disappear. Like they can get stationed somewhere like that. It's like it probably didn't have that sense of permanence for people in some ways. Yeah. Unless you were going to follow them back to the States, get a job at the gas station down the street, whatever, to stay next to them and continue that relationship. But, some people did. Some people got married from our school. But you made an interesting point. Your parents, let's say they grew up in the States. How old were they when they got there, would you estimate, when you guys got to Italy?
Oh,
they're younger than we are.
Yeah, like late 30s, something like that.
Oh, that was a badass adventure for them then. They probably took way advantage of it. They're like, we're going to do cool stuff all the time.
And they did. We went a lot of places. We jumped in the car and drove all the time.
Yeah.
Was your dad in the Air Force? I forget which service.
Yes.
Air Force. Yep, he was over on the NATO base.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did he take trips like for, TDY trips to Germany and other stuff? You guys get to bounce with them and stuff? Or?
Yeah, all the time. So in the first time around, I think it was a little bit of a cush assignment, so to speak, right? So they would go to really cool spots, and the Italians knew how to enjoy their time, whether it was parties, and they would have, great parties, and their lunches wouldn't be 30 minutes. They would be more like 2 hours. And
it's like Thanksgiving. You leave there in a wheelbarrow and you get to find a couch and get a 2-hour siesta, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's how they kind of built it in. But then the second time around, which we weren't with them as much, I think it was a little more intense because there was some discord, some stuff going on in Bosnia and that kind of thing. But anyhow, I think to the point is, there was sort of that sense of urgency to, hey, we got to fit it all in because we don't know how long we're going to be here. So we got to go big. We got to go big.
They had the same thing I did. Like, we better party now because we won't be 21 when we get back to the States.
Yeah, right.
A lot of American kids, the Italian kids could drink. They didn't give a damn. My Italian friend, I'm like, let's go drink. He's like, it's good. Che schifo. How gross. I'm like, come on. Ew. I'm like, come on, drink this huge beer. And he's like, you're the devil. You know,
Right,
it's like I want to go home and play Atari. And I'm like, no, I'm going to hang out here in September's, maybe get in a fight with these GIs. Give me some more. Yeah, I needed the rush because
Yeah.
you got to
Right.
understand. I mean, the lawn thing, it's like taking your little world, turning it otherwise regular, quaint, quiet little town into an adventure zone takes a lot of effort. And it
Mhm.
takes a lot of friends daring each other to jump their BMX bike over the pond, you know, where the whatever, you know, piranhas are, you know, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I don't know. And like, Amy, what's your takeaway? What did you remember? Any great trips, any great memories that stick in your head that pop up now and then like a boom from that time?
Yeah, again, like trips, David was saying ski trips. I did some of those on the Saturday trips. But then it seemed like always at Christmas time, we would go up to Austria, and it always involved other families from Vicenza. And so, yeah, I'd say some of those were really
You guys were part of the
memorable.
local ski club that was like not just school affiliated, but the outside ski club, maybe? Like there's a lot of parents like
Who ran those? I don't
I think my
know.
mom was. She
It was-
used to go ski every week.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Mogul Mamas or whatever they called it.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's right. Hey, I got to sign off. I've got something
Thank-
here that I'm running
you,
behind
buddy.
on. So
Thanks for
I'm gonna
coming
have
on.
to say ciao.
You did a great
Bye,
job.
David.
Love you,
All right.
David.
Love
See
you.
you. Bye.
Bye, David.
Love you.
Your brother was great. He's very well spoken. He should be having his own podcast.
He's gonna fight you for it. He's gonna do a
Watch out.
roller. a
Hey, if
roller
David
skate.
David takes over for the older dude. It's all good. But it's so crazy now. You guys are in Europe. I'm over here in North Carolina. Things have changed. Everybody's moved. Who do you guys want to see come on the podcast that hasn't been on yet?
Oh.
So, have you talked to Jamie Pellerito, or do you remember Langley Thompson?
I remember Langley. I haven't talked to her. I used to go to her mom's house for Christmas and stuff all the time. And that's another funny thing. It's because like I'd come over and like you said, getting to know people, like we've been to the Pellerito's house, all these different houses. And then I got older and more independent and I wasn't there as much. But I remember Langley and her mom, Iris, and we'd go, she was very good friends with my mom. So we'd go there for holidays. That was part of living there a long time. You had your holiday friends, the holiday parties. 'Cause otherwise, it's just sitting at home in the cold, kind of a la COVID style, like not going out socializing, right? So that's what we did. Have you ran into Langley or no?
No, haven't run into Langley. I did see Jamie Pellerito in New York City years ago. I think we actually were at one of Hakeem's art shows. And yeah, I guess that was fun. The Walshes, I mean, that was fun to see them. Yeah, who else?
Daniela Austin?
Yeah.
Or Lita Pelota. Well, Pelota lives away.
Yeah.
That would kind of be a cool group because they were really tight with Daniela and Lita and Kathy Summers.
Yeah, that would be a good one. Of course, I might get analyzed now that Kathy's a psychiatrist. I'm kidding. But I've hung out with Chris Summers in Arizona.
Oh,
I think I miss Kathy. I met up with Les Rayford and Chris Summers when I visited there. And then I guess Keiko Ratcliffe moved there later. Trying to
nice.
think who was around when you guys were around.
Have you done Sam Adams?
Huh?
Sam Adams?
I haven't seen him around. He might be kind of anonymous.
Still, Aim. Or he was in London for a while, I thought.
I think he moved to Austria or something. That's what I heard.
Oh, how about he lives in Brindisi? No, not Brindisi. La Maddalena is Marcus Dickey.
Yeah, I was trying to get a hold of him. Looks like Marcus has had a really cool life. He did say he would come on, so I have to reach out to Marcus. Yeah, he's out playing golf, being handsome, and all these European.
Yeah, we went to Sardinia one time, and I think because of Facebook, I must have posted something about Sardinia. He's like, "Hey, I'm in La Maddalena next time you're here." I mean, which is the cool thing about
Sardinia is beautiful. That place, like he was working at a hotel, managing the golf course, and it was. I was making a lot of money then, but then I looked at the price of rooms. I go, I'm not making that much money. I mean, it was like $18,000 a night rooms. I couldn't justify it to myself. Yeah, all the movie stars would go, they pay for privacy. What you do is you raise the price so high. But I think he's had a pretty interesting life. He's done the Euro life, kind of like, Bonnie. And then we've got Amy over here like, I'm trying to do it, but I might just go back.
Right.
But it's funny, you say these things like you had your holiday families over. I mean, because we lived over here for so long now, we definitely have created those friendships that are, in some ways, not my family, because my family's fantastic, but in some ways it's better than family, your friends that you have, because you travel with them, you do holidays with them, and it's a really unique situation where you kind of choose.
You're living that life that you're living my parents' life right now, because your husband is the principal. You're living what my parents lived and what the other military brats, teachers' kids lived, right? In Germany. You're doing it. David Dingus did it. David Dingus was a principal
for
in
a
Germany.
while.
Yeah. Did you run into him while he was there?
Yeah.
So there's another one, right? And then he was good to have on the podcast. But it's interesting to live that life. So you're doing all these routines, the teachers' ski trips and the teachers, we're all meeting up for a Christmas dinner. You're probably building those into your life now, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, not with lockdowns now, but also this, I bet you, is 100% what you experienced when we have been in a place for quite a long time now. You see the people, you make good friends who aren't necessarily the Dodds people. They're the active duty or the civilians. And then they leave and you're like, well, I'm not going to make any more friends because they're just,
Well, how is that now with Facebook? Because now you can hit them up. Hey, you get some free time, come stay at our house. We'll host you. I mean, has that changed? Because that didn't exist when we were in high school. We didn't know. I mean, we didn't have their phone.
Yeah, we lost contact.
Right? Like I haven't seen either one of you face to face in 34 years, maybe.
I know. Have you done any of the reunions?
I did one in San Antonio. It was fun.
Okay. I think we were kind of planning to go to one year, and then I don't know what happened.
Did the Browns go on? Have you had
No, but the Browns are somebody I'd like to get on because they were there quite a while too.
Yeah.
So they know a lot and they know a lot of people and they stayed pretty hip. I basically ran away from this, and it's ironic that I'm the one doing it. I basically said, screw all that. And then I joined the military, built another military life. Like I did not get out of the military since age 3 to 25. So,
So how many years did you serve once you?
I was there six
Okay.
years, but growing up on a base, having an ID card, then getting another ID card, that was a long ass run. I have another ID card and I can go on bases, and I'm like, it never stops. Never going to get away from it. Do you miss that, Amy? Do you miss having the base life at all? The military
there
life?
are parts for sure. It seems so normal because that's all I knew growing up. And in visiting Bonnie over the years and seeing the access she has. And of course, my parents, retired military for sure, still belong to different things on the base. So it was a kind of built-in community that you had. You moved there and there were going to be people who knew you were coming and prepared, but that's cool.
That's like, where's my ID card? How come I can't go to Foodland? Why do I have to go to No, but it's, there's the civilian world. Like, I think I didn't look back for almost 20 years. Imagine that. Because I was in business, I was doing the California thing. I was trying to mimic what I saw in movies growing up. And, life in the fast lane, that's California for you. It ain't slow. Not in the Bay Area, not in Silicon Valley, not in
that for sure.
Nor in LA for that matter. And, San Diego's beautiful. I was just there. I visited.
San Diego's a little more slow.
Yeah, I visited Kevin Merritt there. You guys probably remember him.
I remember Kevin Merritt.
Yeah.
I remember the name for sure. I did dig out my yearbook.
Oh, show me. What have you got to share with us, young lady?
No, nothing. I just was like, I better just look through and see if I remember stuff.
Was that what year is that yearbook?
This is my graduation year, 87.
87.
Okay. That
But
would
look,
be.
they misspelled Vincenza.
That's how a lot of people like. I was in Vicenza. I'm like, what?
I know,
I'm like, you didn't learn to speak Italian. I can tell Vincenza.
I know.
But if you say it into your phone, it'll probably spell it Vincenza.
Yeah.
Yeah, Siri doesn't spell very well. But if you could, I'd
Oh, I
appreciate.
know Michelle Mobley. What about Michelle?
She is a super realtor over in Boston.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know that from Facebook.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? You know of her, and like, when's the last time we've all had a conversation?
Yeah.
And I think some people, I swear to you, we grow up. Some people are competitive, some people aren't. They're looking at what the other person's doing. I don't really care. I just hope you're happy. I don't care if you have 25 Ferraris and whatever you're making. You've married an Emirati. I don't know. I don't know what you've done, but it doesn't really. It's not a competition. It's how you're living and it's communicating. Because we all spoke the same language, We
all have this same kind of common memory. And I think, I don't know, maybe you have people who said, Vicenza sucked, but I think most people remember it fondly and have good, good feelings about it when they think back on their time in Vicenza.
No, it's true. I mean, some people. Vincenza, yeah, back in Vicenza. but I think about it. Some people don't, some people written it off. Some people feel like they left there. Like I should be the first person to be like angry with it because I get chased around by the Carabinieri and the CID and all this bullshit. And I wasn't even a criminal, but they must have been using me as a training ground. Like I get to Jason Bourne of Vicenza. I was nowhere near what they were accusing me of. And I'm like, why, dude? Because I'm defiant, because I'm confident, because I don't care, because you want me to be complying to your rules. I mean, it's kind of like that. But anyways, it didn't change my life. I'm like, okay, it kind of forced me to grow up and move on and have my own experiences. And I don't hold that, like I lived there so long, I'm not going to let one bad day in 13 years dictate the whole value of 13. I just blow it off. So if anybody, like, you could see this podcast probably being run by somebody that looked at it as the perfect life and they only live within that. I love it too. I have my
spectrum.
Right.
That's real life though, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. There's ups and downs and all in between too.
None of us have lived the perfect life. We can bullshit and put up some pictures and put some filters on and maybe put a couple Ferraris in the background and talk about our lottery winnings. But in the end, what good does all the money and beauty and handsomeness do for you right now in the middle of COVID? It's the quality of communication and
relationships.
Right. I mean, Bonnie's really living what I grew up in, way past when I did, and it's a trip. So what has changed, do you think, in that community of the teachers and the way life is now? Do you guys text each other and meet up where you couldn't do that before because all the plans were made on post and people kept them because they didn't have a phone to call each other?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Here's the funny thing. I feel like when Chip was a teacher, there were a lot more relationships and a lot more activities that happened that we were, part of because he was a teacher. Since he's gotten into administration and schools are still, the teachers are still great, but I think there's kind of this, like, we're not inviting our boss to this, kind of a thing. I don't feel quite as,
like once you become the boss, heavy is the crown that you bear. Is that what right? Like he might notice that I'm drinking too much. And,
who knows? Who knows? So I feel like that part of the social aspect,
it's diminished. Now he has to find other CEOs to hang out with, other levels.
This Corona thing, I don't know. I hope it doesn't change. We love to travel and do all of those things, but with having to be at home, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good with that.
Do you guys go to Spain?
No, you're coming to see us, Bonnie.
Yeah, we're going to Edinburgh as soon as we can.
We're coming your way.
Oh, you're over in the festival area, Edinburgh. That's where all the comedians have their festivals and
tattoo.
The partiers. It's basically the Burning Man area of England. Yeah, that's cool though. I mean, it's because you're wild. You are secretly the wild one,
right?
Your husband likes to party. That's why you moved there. Medical devices. Yeah. I'm kidding. No, but it's for you guys. You want to see those few friends that you had, and you showed up for me, and I appreciate that you did. You knew of me.
Doing it.
You knew of me. I've had a conversation. Your voice is so brings back, like, I remember Amy's voice. I remember Bonnie. I talked to both of you guys. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't let anybody like, I did not talk to most people there.
Right.
Yeah.
I think everybody was like that. I think you were, you were older and you had the group of friends and we knew, you and your friends, but yeah, I never felt like there were real separate groups in
Not
Vicenza. I don't
really.
know.
Not really that I know of, because eventually you all relied on each other,
Right.
and eventually like you couldn't burn a bridge. You weren't like, well, I'm not talking to anybody. I'm going to hang out at my house in Bellagio for 3 years and do nothing. No, you couldn't do it. You wanted social interaction. So I
Yeah.
don't think grudges lasted a long time. I don't think,
Yeah.
I didn't see that. That's one of the weird
No.
things, right?
Maybe we forget.
No, I don't remember any.
No.
It's a great
High
part of
school
my,
movies, and who knows if high school movies are, how accurate, but there weren't like the mean girl kinds of things, I don't think, or
no.
the hazing, or, I think everybody was pretty well.
Verona kids. Didn't
Yeah.
they haze?
Yeah, the Verona kids. you guys knew Steffo, huh?
Yeah. In fact, when my degree is in elementary education, I came back when my parents moved back, and Stefo and I were both substitute teaching for a couple of months or whatever. And I
That's
came back.
before he
so-
ran off to the UN and all that stuff, I guess.
Yeah, it was really fun to see him.
Johnny Kohut, didn't you know Johnny Kohut?
Yeah.
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 We
Yeah,
just had him
yeah.
on. He was
Oh,
around
did you?
forever. Yeah, we just had him on. So if you look back,
Oh yeah, we'll look back. That's
Yeah.
fun.
I'll send you guys some more of these episodes. Just
Yeah,
subscribe to the
cool.
channel.
Thank you.
You guys are probably the
I may have-
70th people on here.
Oh my God.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool. I may have to run and go
Yeah,
feed
I have to.
my guys,
Me too.
but this has been so fun.
Thank you, Len.
No problem,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you for coming
Hey,
on.
and Len, we're really sorry about your dad passing.
Oh, thank you very much. It's been since 2001. So, but people remember them as when you're a teacher within the
Yeah.
community. I totally understand. And, Bonnie's in that world now. It's funny to see Bonnie in that world. But I'm glad that you guys came on here, brothers and sister, 2 sisters and 1 brother. Excuse me, I got that backwards. No, but it's great to see you guys. And I hope
It's been really fun.
more people should reach out to you on Facebook and extend the conversation. Well, thanks for being on, guys.
Thank
All right.
you, Len.
Take
Appreciate
care.
it.